being selfish isn't always a bad thing.
Especially when you've been taught that you shouldn't like those things. And I think that's
Exactly.
what pride really is about.
Right.
A lot of straight people who are against the idea of LGBTQ plus pride say, I'm not proud to be straight. But the difference is you were never taught that being straight was a bad thing and that liking what you like is a bad thing.
Right.
So the pride that we feel is almost like fighting back.
Yeah. Hi, Noah. How are you? Oh my God. I know when you just said you're nervous and now I'm nervous. This is so good to see you. This is fun. We ran into each other like 2 nights ago, which was very serendipitous. I felt like it was like a little, warm up.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was fun. I was trying to think about where did we meet? I feel like I was thinking about it. Was it a party?
No, we met on the Alaska Airlines Pride flight.
Yes.
In 2021?
Wait, yes. And you had the heart in your hair. Yes.
My hair was bleached. I had rainbow heart in my hair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, if anyone can pull that off, it's going to be you. I was like, I feel like, should I? And I was like, no, let me not.
I don't think I could pull it off anymore. So
no,
we're
you definitely
fine.
can. I feel like you're able to pull off every hair color. You could do any. It's perfect. But yes, oh my God, that's so true. Okay. I was like, I know it wasn't a party. And I was like, what is it? A campaign? And yeah, okay. So it was with Alaska Airlines, the Pride flight where we left from here, went to San Francisco.
And right back.
All in the same day. We just went and partied and came home. Honestly, that's a great way to make friends.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a good time.
You're born and raised in Paris, correct? And you moved to LA when you were 17?
No, I actually moved to the Bay Area when I was 17 to attend college. Yeah, I was born and raised in Paris, did my entire childhood there. And then at the end of the high school, I was like, I want to travel. I want to go study somewhere else.
Yep.
So I went to school in the Bay Area, UC Berkeley. And then after that, I ended up staying in the US instead of going back home.
Okay.
I moved to New York City first for a job. And then LA since 2020. Yeah, November of 2020. It's going to be 5 years.
Wait, were you here before or after COVID?
During COVID.
So
the reason I moved to LA is actually because I was working full-time in consulting in New York.
Okay.
And when COVID hit March 2020, everyone went remote. So we were just working from our apartments. And after a few months, I was like, why am I paying $4,000 to live in a city where everything is closed?
Right.
No restaurants, no shows. Everyone was terrified and not going out. There's no outdoor space in New York that you could really take advantage of. So I was like, my friends live in LA.
So you're like, let me go pay $4,000 a month in LA where everything's shut down anyway.
I downgraded a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. But at least you have the beach, you have the hikes.
That's true. You have
and I had my friends here.
That's a good point.
So yeah, it was a COVID move.
Yeah, because Christine and I actually lived in New York during COVID throughout the whole thing. And so I definitely understand it. It was very lockdown mode. Do you have a preference between like New York, Bay Area, Los Angeles? There's still like...
It's so hard.
Yeah.
I do feel like it's between LA and New York for me.
Okay.
The thing with New York is I feel like my time there was cut short because of COVID. I for sure would have stayed there a lot longer. So I do feel like there is kind of an unfinished chapter there for me.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I definitely got so used to the weather and being able to drive everywhere and go to the beach.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to give up.
And do you think that living in multiple places has kind of helped you express yourself and who you are, your identity over the years? Or
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. And I feel I actually think about that very often.
Okay.
When I go back home to Paris and I'm like, I wonder what my identity and like gender expression and sexuality would look like if I had stayed in Paris.
For sure.
Because Paris it's a big metropolis. It's a touristy city, but it's nowhere as liberal and as open as the cities that I've lived in are.
Right.
I mean, San Francisco, New York, LA, you can't do more liberal and open than that. So I feel like living there really allowed me to come into myself in the most open and authentic way.
I love that.
So yeah.
It's funny because I'm from Tennessee originally. And so in the South, they didn't even know what queer was. Like I didn't hear about it. I didn't even know it was an option until I was like a friend. I didn't know. That. I was like, what do you mean? I could have been doing this whole time. I didn't have my first experience until my freshman year in college. And when I did, I was like, whoa,
wait, did you go to college in Tennessee too?
In Tennessee. Okay. And like my university had like 1,500 students on campus. It was tiny in the middle of nowhere.
Everyone knows everyone.
Yeah, everyone knows everyone's business. And so when it happened to me, I was like, no, this can't happen to me. Like, I'm not one of those people, you know? Exactly. So I was like, I have to get out of here. I need to move. And I went to art school. And out of all the schools in the world, I chose San Francisco, actually.
Of course you did.
I didn't know it was gay there. No one even talked about queer identity or anything.
And as you're discovering, you're kind of suppressing it at the same time. So I'm sure if you knew, you probably would have been like, maybe this isn't the right place for me.
Right. No, I was like, I'm going to move to San Francisco. I'm going to be straight. It's going to be fine. I moved there and everyone's like, you're a lesbian, right? I was like, no, what? Yeah. And they're like, don't worry, we'll take you under our wing and we'll help you. So I think I think it helped me in my identity and being able to open up. And
I feel like no matter where you live, it's going to be a question of community.
Right.
I'm sure if I had stayed in Paris, if you had stayed in Tennessee, we would have found our people.
Right.
And we would have managed in a way to become ourselves, thankfully.
Right.
But it would have taken a lot longer. It would have been a lot more painful emotionally or even physically. Like, it can be so dangerous.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, cities like this just make me feel like the bigger they are, the more open and diverse they are, the more you get to kind of...
And we met each other here. So it's like it all worked out.
Exactly.
Well, some people might not know this, but you're a new father.
Yes.
How is parent life
Single
with you?
dad.
Tell us about your son.
Yeah, so I got a puppy this year. His name is Crash.
He's so cute. I literally binged every video and I was like, wait.
So much. You have no idea. I always loved dogs. My exes always had dogs. I've adopted puppies with exes before. So I always had that love for animals and dogs.
Yeah.
But I never really felt ready. And in the past couple of years, I've been single and I've been like, okay, I need to do what I want and not wait to have a partner to do what I want with my life. And the puppy thing was always forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
And then I started doing WAG, to walk other people's dogs just to get more comfortable and feel like, okay, I can do this on my own. End of last year, I was like, okay, 2025 is it. I'm going to get my baby. Yeah. I already knew the name. Crash is my favorite album by Kehlani.
Okay, yeah.
And he came into my life in January this year and
so cute.
Took over. Girl, I have no time.
Oh, no, for sure. We're fostering 3 kittens right now. 3. I don't know why. They told me, would you like one? I was like, I'll take 3. I don't know.
Wait, when did you get them?
After the fires happened.
Okay.
So the fires were all the displaced animals. So they had nowhere to go. And I was like, sure, I'll take as many as you'll give me. And they said, okay, 3 kittens. When they told me kittens, these are teenage cats.
Oh,
literally, they're like actual proper cats. And I was like, these are not, sure, whatever. We've had them for like a couple of weeks now, quite a long time. But it's similar. They've taken over. Like everything in the apartment is now theirs.
Dedicated.
I've built forts for them out of boxes, like the whole bathroom's.
I fostered a puppy once. He never left.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm like so close to foster failing. We've fostered puppies in the past. And that was easier because puppies got adopted within like 8 to 10 days, so you didn't have enough time to form a relationship with them. With these kittens, they've been with us for like 10 weeks now.
Yeah.
Like 10. And so I'm like, that's my cat. That is, these are my cats.
You're screwed.
They're like feral, but they're my cats. They're so, but I'm also like, I really want them to go to a good home. So it's like, you love them so you can also get the next animal. But would you ever get Crash a little bit? Like get your dog a dog?
Another dog?
You're like, not yet.
Right now, I just got out of the very chaotic puppy phase where he's chewing and barking and peeing everywhere. So I feel like right now I'm like, we're good.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do feel like maybe in a few years I'll be like, okay.
It's time. So you're originally from Paris, so you have a French background, but you're also Algerian and Tunisian, right? Can you tell me a little bit more about your background?
The side of my family that's Algerian is my mom's side. My dad's side is Tunisian.
Okay.
But both of them were born in France. I was born in France.
Okay.
So I feel like I was raised mainly with French culture.
Okay.
A big reason of that is the history of colonization in North Africa, especially with Algeria. So a lot of people who immigrated to France tried to assimilate to French culture in order to avoid racism and xenophobia, etc. So that's kind of what happened with my family. Okay. So I was raised kind of avoiding the North African culture.
Right.
In like a protective way.
Sure. Is that something that's impacted you as well, like even in your own self-expression?
I think so a little bit, just culturally, like knowing your roots, having a cultural background that you can go back to and learn from is something that's always been interesting to me. There was no more Arabic spoken, no more Islam was practiced in my family. They started eating pork. It was very like, let's try to be as French as possible. Sure. And then growing up, when I was kind of uncovering my roots and my ethnicity, my cultural background, I was like, oh wait, I missed out on a lot of important landmarks that you can have in a child's life,
Right.
important cultural aspects, music, dances, all those things. So I'm kind of like uncovering them now.
Okay.
And then when it comes to the identity and self-expression part, I think French culture is probably a little bit more open than North African culture would have been, especially when it comes to sexuality, because homosexuality is frowned upon, if not illegal in a lot of those countries. So I think I was a little bit fortunate on that side, but mentally I still kind of had that blockage because the values and the preconceived notions kind of transpire and remain no matter
it's
what
still
you try to do.
Yeah, no, it's true. Christine, both of her parents immigrated here. So she's first generation American on both sides. And very much the same when she moved here, her parents were like, you only can, you know, her grandmother was like, you're only learning English. We're not going to teach you Spanish.
Yes.
We're going to teach you everything American, right? And so even her now that she's in her 30s, she's like, okay, well, when I go to Spanish speaking countries, I want to connect with my culture, but I don't feel Spanish enough.
Exactly.
I don't feel Latina enough, but I also don't feel
completely American.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think that's very fascinating that she's, you know, it's kind of going through those waves now.
In a way, I think also of it as a little bit of a privilege because I don't have to be scared to dig into my roots and express them.
Sure.
The way my grandmother was. For example, when she first moved, she had to change her name. She had to change her religion, her faith, just to avoid racism and violence.
Yeah.
So I do feel privileged that that's the state that I'm in now. I also am super grateful that they saw past their own culture and past their own preconceived ideas when I came out.
Yeah.
I was met with only love and acceptance. I was so lucky with my coming out journey with my family. So yeah,
that's good.
It was a little backtrack, but I'm happy about it.
So are you pretty close? Yeah. Okay. That's amazing. I love that. Okay.
Yeah. I'm super.
That's so
close
nice
to my family.
that was an easier transition. I feel like one of the hardest things is like being worried about rejection and people not accepting you for who you are, and especially if you're close with your family. Like I'm really close with my sisters, and I think that was my biggest fear of coming out. It's like, what if they're no longer wanting to be a part of my life just because of this one part of who we are? And I think that that's something that I've learned over the years too, is like, being queer is just one tiny piece of who we are. You know, we're all taught that it's the first thing that we are, but it's not necessarily the case. Like we all have so many different things. And something we'll talk about you later is like you're an entrepreneur, you're a content creator, you're a fashion icon to me. And it's like you know what I mean? Like these are all the pieces of who you are. Just queer is just one part of that, right? And I feel like, you know, I think that's where the rejection part of it comes from.
100%. And we internalize that so much when we're kids because you see so much bullying, you see it in movies, you see it in the news.
Right.
I think I knew that I was queer for probably 3 years before I came out to my family. And all of those 3 years were spent with me overthinking their reactions and making assumptions about what they were going to be like without them having ever proven to me that they would treat me poorly.
Right.
And so when I came out to them, the first reaction is always like, why did you wait so long? And it's always, I was in my head.
Yeah.
I was overthinking.
Absolutely. No, with my sister, she was like, I know. I'm like, why didn't you tell me?
They all know.
Why didn't you just, you could have told me because I didn't know. That's the thing, you know what I mean? And so I feel like, no, absolutely. I think whenever we're taught from as soon as we can, from movies, music, television, everything, that, you know, maybe being queer or being more open about your sexuality is not necessarily something you should talk about with everybody, you automatically suppress that, right? And it creates a lot of that internalized homophobia. Even for me, I moved to the West Coast not knowing it was going to make me gay or like give me the opportunity to be gay. But like it was so scary. Even though my sisters were like, it's fine, it's not a big deal. I was like, not to me, I gotta go. You know, I need to start over.
Wait, so question.
Yes.
You said you didn't know when you came out, like
No.
when you realized that you were queer?
Yeah.
So were you ever bullied or like did people ever suspect that you would be queer?
Yes. So where I'm from, like I was always very, for my gender expression, I was always very tomboy. Like I, at one point, cut my hair very short. I was always wearing stuff, you know, very similar to this. And there were always jokes here and there, but I didn't understand what those meant. Like my last name is Pike. So people would say Pike the Dyke, like literally. And I was like, what the Dyke? You know,
so creative.
I didn't, I was
So
like, actually,
creative.
that's pretty good, you know? And so I'm like, actually, I should go by that with my handle now.
Imagine.
I'm reclaiming it. No, and so me growing up, I was always like, I want to be with the boys. I want to hang out with the boys. I was more into sports, but I didn't know what that meant for me.
Yeah.
I just really, like, even with crushes, I just really, really, really wanted to be friends with certain girls. like really bad. I wanted to hang out with them, but I didn't know why. To me, I was like, I really want to be friends with them. But I was like, no, girl, that's a crush. Like you were you're in love. And I was like 15-year-old me. But was that the same for you? Like, did you have those, if you could look back on it, do you have like a moment where you're like, oh yeah?
Well, I think the thing about coming out that is so difficult sometimes is that people find out before you and they throw it in your face as an insult. So before you even have time to figure out what it is about yourself that is different, it's already seen as something that's negative. It actually started with fashion for me when I was in elementary school.
Yeah. Okay.
My mom started letting me dress myself. So I would go shopping with her and pick my outfits. And naturally, I would navigate towards the super colorful, like rainbow pieces, things with texture and fur. And I would go to school super proud and I would get bullied. Like people would call me names and just make comments about the clothes that I was wearing, etc. I never really said anything because I wasn't like the black sheep in school. Like I wasn't the kid that people were making fun of, but it just was little jokes all the time.
Right.
Kind of naturally, I stopped wearing that type of clothes and started following trends and becoming a little bit more mainstream to fit in. It took a little while after that for me to get back into confidence when it comes to self-expression and fashion in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids were rough.
Oh yeah. And for me, it was interesting because like my family was more tolerant. They were more accepting. I used to say accepting, but recently, after everything happening, I'm realizing it was more of a tolerance. But my friends at the time were the ones that were the harshest. They were the ones that were like, it's a mental illness. You don't have the right to get married. You know.
After you came out.
After
that
it
was
came
the response?
out. Yeah, that was the response, and I was like, oh shit, okay.
Are you still friends with those people now?
No, not really. Yeah. So at this time I had moved to San Francisco, been there for a year. They were like, we're gonna make you the biggest gay lesbian ever, and I was like, great. And then when I went home, I dressed very different. I was more confident in myself.
Code switching.
Back in Tennessee. And then in Tennessee, they were like, no, like, this is wrong. We're worried about you. Are you going to be okay? And I was like, no, and at that point, I didn't want to go back. I was like, that doesn't feel like home to me anymore. That doesn't feel like I feel welcomed anymore. So
100%.
At the time when I was younger, I was very tomboy. And then I went to middle school. I dressed more girly because they were like, the boys love makeup. They love you have your hair done. And I was like, okay, I don't really want to hang out with boys, but I just want to play football with them, but I don't want to like, whatever, if you're telling me to wear makeup, I will. And that didn't feel right. And then when I moved to San Francisco, they're like, we're going to make you super masculine looking. And I was like, okay, but that didn't feel right either.
Okay.
And so I'm sure we're definitely going to get into the fashion side of that too. But if there was somebody listening in and they were a little confused about maybe their fluidity or maybe their sexual orientation journey, what would be a piece of advice that you would have for them?
Give yourself time. And give yourself grace. I feel like what we're talking about here is like letting external forces kind of write your story for you. Don't let that happen. People are so quick to put labels onto you. And I feel like when you're a little bit younger or when you're unsure about who you are, you kind of take those external labels and apply them to yourself. And that can kind of hinder your own growth.
Yeah.
Give yourself time to figure out who you are, what you like, what you're into, what you want to look like, what you want to feel like, and just go with that.
No, I appreciate that too because, I didn't even learn about the spectrum of sexuality or even gender expression. I didn't realize the different fluidity, again, the options that you can have, right? To me, it was you were either this or this or this. And so when I was coming out, I was like, okay, well, I guess I still am a little attracted to guys. And then I was like, no, that doesn't feel right either. I think men are attractive from a distance. But I don't think I could go there emotionally. So then I was like, am I a lesbian? I don't know. And then I still like to dress a certain way. It's very fascinating with labels because as much as like there is a spectrum, there's like a fascination with having to put ourselves in boxes, even though the whole point is to unbox ourselves.
I think labels in a way that we also navigate identity to kind of understand ourselves because if I say I'm gay, then there's a set of attributes that are associated with being gay that I can kind of latch onto.
Yeah.
But the real change and the real self-discovery happens when you remove the label and you're like, okay, who am I? What do I like? What do I look like? Without relation to any of the labels. And I love your use of the word option because when it comes to sexuality and that conversation, we always say being queer is not an option. I didn't wake up one day and was like, I'm going to like men.
Yeah.
But the labeling and the expression are options.
Right.
And there are choices.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, it was comfort, like being forced into this heterosexual bubble. I say option in the sense of, I didn't even know that was, I didn't even realize that I could go down that path. And then once I did, I was like, oh no, I was born this way. I was literally like, oh no, it all makes sense now. And even as young as I can remember, I was always who I am. It's just that you were taught to go down one path, even though you didn't know that there was 5 paths.
Yes.
And it's very fascinating now that I'm older that I can see that, and especially being, as you said, in LA, where you're in a community where you're surrounded by having these conversations all the time. I think being in Tennessee, you aren't around as many people to have these conversations. And that's why I'm also just so excited to have this podcast that hopefully, reach people that are, wanting to express themselves in different ways and maybe feeling a little more isolated in that journey, because it can kind of be scary sometimes. And especially when you're trying to navigate who you are, what you want to wear, especially in places where it might not be as open to dress in more flamboyant clothing or rainbows, or if you're a more masculine presenting woman, like what does that look like to you?
Yeah.
But I think that that's going to be changing too, especially as we're seeing fashion evolve and everything. So I said before, to me, I actually look up to you a lot and what you wear, because I feel like you always have this beautiful flow between masculinity and femininity. What does that mean to you?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know that I have a philosophy. I do feel like my style and fashion in general has been used as a tool to express how I feel in that season of my life. Looking back at what I used to wear, I can definitely tell that it's evolved.
Okay.
There was a period in my life where I was exploring my femininity more, like emotionally, personally, sexually. And that was definitely visible on the outside on what I was wearing. I was wearing women's clothes, bodysuits. I was wearing makeup, all those things. That's the period where I had my colorful hair and all those things.
Yeah.
And it felt natural. It felt like it was kind of following what was happening on the inside.
Yep.
Lately, I've been wearing a little bit more baggy, masculine things just because I got into that space personally.
Yeah.
But I still do love to throw in some pieces that are considered more feminine. Like I'll throw a bodysuit on and with some baggy pants. I love the mix of it.
Yeah.
We always say, like, you're wearing this outfit is not wearing you.
Fair. Yeah.
I think I started by being like, okay, I'm going to dress this way and see how I feel. And now I'm like, okay, I feel this way. Let me show it on the outside with my clothes.
And I love so far with the way that fashion is going, because no shade to skinny jeans, but they weren't doing me any favors. And now that everything is more baggy, I'm like, wow, I feel really great. And like, I think that now that it's more common to see women wearing baggier clothes and it doesn't automatically make them a certain sexual identity, because that's what my biggest fear was back in the day. I would wear very feminine clothes because I didn't want to be bullied. I didn't want people to call me out for certain 100%. Things. I didn't want to wear masculine clothes because people would be like, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing.
So would you force yourself to wear feminine clothes?
Yeah. I mean, I used to wear skirts, dresses, heels, and now I'll occasionally wear a heel, but it has to be like a red carpet experience. Like, and I
it's
take
on your
a pair of
terms.
shoes. Exactly. And so I think that now with fashion evolving, it's very fascinating too, because women are wearing baggier clothes. Men are they're expressing themselves more in their femininity. Like even for me, I never used to be like, I want to wear pearls, but now I see men wearing pearls and I'm like, oh, if they can do it and they can wear crop tops, that means I can wear crop tops. But I never felt comfortable in expressing that side of me until I saw the masculine side wearing that. And I think that what you just said, you're wearing the outfit, not the other way around, which I think is really fascinating.
And it goes back to the conversation about representation. I do feel like more and more we see gender expression be pulled out of fashion. Yeah. And both genders wearing anything and everything. Right. It starts with the high fashion world. Yep. It starts with the photo shoots with Bad Bunny. It starts with New York Fashion Week and these moments where models are wearing skirts. And then little by little, it starts being adopted. Yeah. I was seeing I think it was a TikTok, but it was making fun of how straight people would normally make fun of certain things that gay people were wearing until it became normalized, skinny jeans. Yeah. And then straight people were starting wearing skinny jeans. Yes. And then the gays are like, never mind, let's go back to baggy. Right.
No, absolutely. That's why I'm like, wait, it's good. We're kind of setting the trends. Not to like toot our own horn or anything. Actually, to fully toot our own horn. We were setting the trends.
Credit.
You know
Take
what?
the credit.
Absolutely. So your content also, you share a lot of your fitness journey. I was wondering if you can tell me about that and how does your fitness journey play into your identity, but also your mental health?
My fitness journey, I was always pretty active. I always liked moving my body. I didn't start working out until I lived in New York.
Okay.
And it was very much a like sheep bandwagon move.
Okay.
I think when I moved there and I started working corporate right out of college, it was kind of the normal life. People were going to their 9 to 5, hitting the gym, and then going on with their day.
Yeah.
And my job came with a gym membership. So I was like, okay, that's me now.
Yeah.
And then little by little, I started realizing that it was actually helping my mental health.
Isn't that annoying?
Crazy.
It's like they've been telling me that my whole life, if you eat healthy, you go to sleep, you get 8 hours, you go to the gym, you'll feel better. And I'm like, oh no, it really works.
It's true.
It works.
Yeah. So I started feeling that, and then I started seeing results physically.
Okay.
And like, I of course admired fit bodies when I was younger, and I was like, oh wait, I can gain muscle weight, because I was always kind of skinny.
Okay.
And like, these are still the reasons that I kind of work out now. Movement makes me feel better, and makes me feel better when I'm in a Speedo, which is my job.
I love it. Yeah, you're like,
I'm gonna
this is
keep
perfect.
doing it.
Yeah, on brand, literally. Like you just said, for the first time, I am starting to see a difference in my body, like shape and definition. I've never had that. When I used to play soccer in high school, college, everything, but I was always really skinny.
That was already so queer. Like,
that was very gay, right? Why did no one tell me? I'm like, what? So yeah, with my little slick back pony.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'm like, why did I not do this before? But I was always really skinny, really like petite, and so I was always fast and like athletic. But now I'm like, oh, I'm
feel strong.
And I'm annoying. I literally walk by mirrors and I'm like,
like, saying,
like no one catch me. So to back it up a little bit, I used to have a problem with alcohol addiction. So I'll be 4 years sober this year, which is really exciting. Thank you. And I think for me, I guess to make light of it, I've kind of transferred the addiction now to going and working out and going to the gym and taking care of myself. And I think that it's a different kind of addiction in the sense of like you're actually really falling in love with taking care of yourself. And I think before it was falling in love with self-destruction, which is very interesting. How does the mental health part of that journey for you? Is that something to just stay consistent? And
always the conversation about motivation versus consistency. And I would always wait for the motivation to come. I would wake up and be like, I don't want to go to the gym.
No.
And so you have to kind of force yourself for a little while.
Yeah.
I love that you're comparing addiction to taking care of yourself, because I think mentally it's the same thing. Like it's repetition. It's doing the same thing over and over again until it becomes so natural that your body just craves it naturally.
Yeah.
It can be negative or it can be something that's good for you.
Absolutely.
So being addicted to the gym and eating healthy and taking care of yourself and moving is amazing.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight.
No.
I'm sure you had to force yourself to work out first, and you had to tell yourself, okay, I'm going to go 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And I always tell my friends who are trying to start their fitness journey, don't look at someone who's 5 years into their journey and going to the gym 6 times a week and try to reach that, because you're going to destroy yourself and disgust yourself with it, and you're not going to be consistent because you're going to want to give up.
Yeah.
If it's 1 or 2 times a week that you go and you feel really proud of yourself and you kind of build that confidence from your own success in reaching that goal, that's when you can go up and start. Like, we're not in a race.
No. And I think that's the problem that I love social media. I know it comes with a lot of positives, but there's a lot of comparison problems with social media, and I, myself including. I will go on there and I'll be like, again, I don't know. I always look at men where I'm like, they're so fit, they're so ripped. I want to be like, my arms that big. And I'm like, okay, that's not going to happen. 1, I don't have that build. 2, I don't really want to be that like veins popping out. But I compare it and I'm like, how long has he been going? And then I'm like, no, he's an athlete. He's been doing this. He lives at the gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You need to have that constant reminder to yourself, because you're always going to compare yourself to others.
Absolutely.
Social media makes it easier, but it was always happening before. You saw people on the street that you thought were more fit, more successful than you, and you would compare yourself to them. Keep reminding yourself of those differences and of your own journey, your own singularities, and go from there and not from their other point of view.
No, I appreciate that. And that's also something like to segue into social media. You've been doing social media for a couple of years now, right? I'd love to talk about your journey into social media. How did storytelling get started for you?
Travel content.
Okay. Yep. Which is one of the reasons why I love your content, by the way.
Thank you.
It's so
I don't
good.
nearly do it as much as I would want to now.
Yeah.
But that's how I started. I was doing semester at sea, one of my semesters in college. And so we traveled to 10 different countries, and I was documenting the entire process on YouTube. We lived on a ship for the entire semester. So amazing. I was vlogging on the ship, and then when we would get to a country, I would vlog my experience in the country. A way for me to use creativity and like create something for myself, but it was also a way for me to document my memories and make sure that I would always have kind of like trip videos when I was older.
For sure.
And so I started with that on social media, on YouTube. Kept going after that semester ended, was doing more things around college life.
Okay.
Transitioning into my first full-time job. I continued doing, I don't know how I had the time. I was working in consulting in New York City and then
going to the gym.
And going to the gym.
And then,
and then filming in my apartment. Every week I had a video, it was consistent.
Wow.
And I think it was for sure because consulting can be a little bit dry. I worked in financial services on Wall Street.
That sounds like a great time. What do you mean? That sounds
great. I made the most of it. Honestly, I like
had
the best experience I could have had on Wall Street because I met a lot of queer people and a lot of creative people, and I kind of stayed close to them.
Okay, good.
But I still needed that creative outlet when I went home because I couldn't be talking about loans and credit cards all day long.
I mean, that sounds creative. But
doing that as a hobby on the side.
Okay,
and then when COVID hit and I moved to LA, I was close to all my creator friends who were doing that full time and had no other distraction and could just like grow their career this way.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, I kind of want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I little by little started building. I called it my escape plan. I love taking risks, and I've taken a lot of risks in my life, but I'm a planner when it comes to risk taking.
I love it.
I will make sure that the parameters are taken care of and that I'm confident in my decision.
That's funny. You plan to take risks. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, I built an entire deck of the consultant in me. I built an entire deck where I had metrics that I needed to hit in order to feel confident enough to make the jump and quit my job.
But that's great, though. I feel like it's building security for yourself, and then it's something to fall back on if you need to. Because I think sometimes people are so scared of the risk because they're like, it's all or nothing, right? It's like, if I quit today, what happens? What happens, right? But if you take these little milestones and kind of put like parameters, you know,
strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and for even us, when we left for Southeast Asia in 2019, we were supposed to just go for like a couple months, but I was like, it's gonna be longer.
Not gonna be that.
Yeah. We did the same. We saved a set amount of money to go and travel with, and then a set amount of money to come home to, because we didn't want to spend everything and then have nothing. Luckily, the trip lasted 10 months. We didn't even spend everything that we planned it, and then we came home and had that
amazing
a protection, right, to come back to. And I think that when people are looking to set risk, it's not even just traveling, but it's setting those little milestones for yourself that feels achievable and attainable. Because sometimes when we have our vision boards, which I love a vision board, but we put something that's so big that it almost feels unattainable and you kind of push it away.
Yeah.
But I think if you create these little baby milestones that feels like, oh, I can save this amount of money, or I can quit my job if this, metric hits, then that feels more attainable. And you actually attract it. It makes it happen that way.
The reason you're not reaching your goals is because you're treating your vision board as a bucket list instead of a to-do list. And that's exactly that. You need to set those achievable milestones along the way in order to reach that final dream of yours.
Yeah, like an actionable list.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We treat, like, when you build a business, you build a strategy, you build a business plan.
Yeah.
You're not going to just go and create something from scratch without a plan in mind.
No, absolutely.
In your personal life, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So I had my plan and executed. The minute I hit all the milestones and then the KPIs that I had,
not the KPIs.
I was like, all right, we're good.
Wow,
Set my meeting with HR. I said, all right, goodbye, guys. Wow. And thankfully, it didn't change much in my routine because I was already working from home.
Okay, good.
So content creation had already taken a little bit of a bigger part into my life.
Sure.
Because your lunch break, you can film a video and then you can edit a little bit while you're on downtime from work.
Getting paid while you do that? No.
Never that.
Yeah.
So by the time I had my last day and said goodbye to people on Zoom, I closed my laptop and I was like, okay, I guess we keep going. It's the same thing.
That's great. So you already kind of set yourself up for success in that way, which is great. What is one of your favorite travel destinations, just out of curiosity?
Oh my God. There's so many. I was telling you about semester at sea.
Yeah.
We explored 10 different countries. And I feel like because we were on a ship and it wasn't countries that I had picked myself from a bucket list that I saw online or a movie. I was thrown into destinations that I probably wouldn't have picked at that age.
Okay.
We went to Ghana, we went to India, we went to Burma, and I think Burma was probably top 3.
Okay.
Burma, South Africa, and Japan. I can't give you one.
Wow.
It's one of these
But those
3.
are all amazing. And I think sometimes when people ask us what our favorite destination is, I'm like, it changes.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like you love every destination for different reasons.
Exactly.
Like, it's interesting because a lot of places you just mentioned, there's not as much progress when it comes to being LGBTQ plus, right? And so I find it interesting that part of your favorite experiences are still you being able to go and enjoy yourself without having that fear, but you also were received so well that those are your favorite destinations,
yeah, 100%.
right?
Wait, do you have a top 3?
My favorite is Jordan. So we went to the Middle East 2 years ago, and it was my all-time favorite. It was amazing. The hospitality was incredible. The food was amazing. You had the desert, then we went scuba diving, and it was just amazing. God. We slept in like these domes in the desert, which was sick. So I would say Jordan, French Polynesia is amazing. We're like adventure people. Right? I'm definitely an adventure. I love being able to go swim with whales and then go climb a mountain and all that. But those are probably top 2.
Okay.
Every other place, it's so hard.
I haven't been to either, so.
Okay, and I haven't been to most of the places that you mentioned, so we'll have to switch. We'll
yep.
exchange lists, yeah. All right, so I know that you started with content. You do YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Do you have Snapchat?
No, I got banned.
No. Honestly, I don't think you're missing out on much. I think I have like 16 followers on Snapchat. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm sorry. Also, I don't know how we have so much time in the day to have all these platforms, running them all the time. These are full-time businesses in themselves.
Yes.
I think a lot of people don't realize that with content creation, it is a full-time business. You are the CEO of your own business.
So much goes into it. Like before even sitting down to film the video, like if it's a brand deal, there's already so much work that goes into the the contract negotiation, figuring out the brief, figuring out what you're gonna film, doing the research about what you're gonna film, getting all the equipment ready, filming, editing, posting, and
all the things. How do you find a balance between what you share for your audience and then what you keep for yourself that's more private, something that you can have for yourself?
I think it comes pretty naturally. I've felt very fortunate in that I never felt like I had to pick up my camera and record everything.
That's good.
I always operated from the mindset that I was deciding what I was going to put on the internet and what side of myself I was going to show to people.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been pretty easy.
That's good. I mean, even the other day I stalked you a little bit, and I'm like your number one fan. Now I watched one of your YouTube videos where it was all about losing motivation and then how you're getting it back. And I think that what I love about your content is that specific YouTube video, I know it's all different, but that one you set it down and you just talk to the camera almost like we were on FaceTime.
Yeah.
And I think that was interesting timing too, because I was going through the same thing where I was just like so low on motivation. I didn't know where to pick that up again. And I sat there and like listened to your whole story. And I like that I didn't feel as alone afterwards, because I think sometimes we have this pressure with social media or just society to hit all these milestones, keep pushing to the next promotion or the next trip or whatever it might be, that we forget that we are also human. And it's okay to not always be 100%.
Agreed.
And so I appreciated you showing that vulnerability. Is that something that you want to share a lot of, is that vulnerable side and that authenticity?
I think so. I think I want to share myself as I am. Thank you for what you're sharing about that video, because I think that's exactly what I was trying to convey when I filmed it. Yeah. There's so much pressure when it comes to content about providing value to your audience. Yeah. And a lot of times we think about it as I have to be an expert in a field and share knowledge that people will take and will be useful to them. And I was having that conversation with my friend Patrick the other day, who's also a content creator. And he was telling me it's not just about that value in knowledge. Content can provide value in many different ways. It can be entertainment. It can be feeling connection. It can be learning a skill. Like, it doesn't have to be something so specific. Yeah. And so sometimes people just want to put a video on while they're cooking or while they're eating dinner and feel some sort of connection, feel some sort of relatability, learn about things they don't know about. So yeah, I'm trying. Honestly, I'm happy you said that about that video, because I think it's the first time that I pick up my camera and I'm like, I'm just going to record. I don't know what I'm going to talk about.
I sat and watched the whole video and I was like, this is exactly how I'm feeling right now. You don't need to have the best equipment. You don't need to be the biggest expert. It's just like truly showing up as yourself. I feel like that is the true kind of content that people are going to resonate with.
Yeah, people follow you for you, not necessarily for what you're bringing to the table in like a tangible way.
So earlier you mentioned with content, you are the photographer, the editor.
I sometimes have my photographer help me.
Oh, okay.
My best friend, Jesse.
Okay.
Amazing photographer. I have to shout him out. He's amazing. He's a photographer and a creative director. He's behind a lot of our Sunny Days campaign as well. But my birthday shoots, all the like more thought through shoots that I do is Jesse. And
I love it. I love it. Which is a collaboration in itself. But then also, you know, you're wearing all these different hats and you're the CEO of this business that's content. But then now you are also the CEO, the financial manager, you're the COO, you're literally everything for Sunny Days. And Sunny Days is your lifestyle and swimwear brand, right? How did this go about? And when did this love, because I know we said we have a love for fashion. When did you decide that you want to create your own business with that?
I think the business thing was always in my head ever since I was a kid.
Okay.
I'm finding files from 2009 on my computer where it's just me drafting ideas or like pictures of things.
Wow, that's amazing.
A t-shirt line, jewelry. Like I was in middle school drafting things, thinking about having my own business. I would also do little business things on the side, like cleaning cars or just finding ways to make money on my own.
Yeah.
And so I always knew that I wanted to have my own business at some point. When I was in Berkeley, I studied economics, but I also took a lot of classes in the business department and entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So I kind of always had that in the back of my mind.
Sure.
When I moved into corporate, I was watching things also from the perspective of how much can I learn that I will be able to apply when I do start my own thing. So that was always there. I just didn't know what it was going to be.
Okay.
I honestly had no idea. And my mom, when I was a kid, was like, you're doing all of this and you're going to end up working in fashion. And she was right.
Wow. But you know what? In a way, all of those things prepared you for being a business owner.
100%. Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of things is what people don't realize is being a business owner isn't always just the art and the passion and the things that you love to do. It's also the admin and the finances and all the things you don't necessarily want to do. And I think you going that route is what prepared you to get to this point now.
100%. And I'm so grateful for it because like Sunny Days is my first business. I always say that. It's my first business. It's not my only business.
Right.
So many entrepreneurs start a business and fail so quick and start again and fail again. Sure. It's not about the product or the service that you provide. It's about who you are as a person and how you take your project from inception to execution.
Yeah.
A lot of times when we studied or when we looked at angel investors and how people raise money for startups, you have a whole deck about the product or the startup that you're trying to build.
Yeah.
And then you talk about the founders and who they are, what their values are, what they prioritize. And most of the times the investors are looking at the people behind the business instead of the business itself.
Right.
Because if the business fails, that person is strong enough, resilient enough to build it back up or to start over again. The reason I started with swimwear is kind of stupid. I was looking at my metrics on social media because as a social media influencer or content creator, a lot of the ways we make money is by selling products or promoting products. Yep. And so I had all of this data from how many people had clicked on a certain partnership, how many people had actually purchased the product that I had promoted.
Yeah.
And so I looked at all that data and I was like, oh, it's funny. When I'm half naked, there's a lot of engagement.
Yeah.
And people actually buy.
Yeah.
And so my conversion rate when I was working with swimwear brands was the highest out of any other product that I was promoting. Wow. And so that's when I was like,
you're proving the concept without even getting started yet, right? And I think, again, that's what just goes to show with content. It is a business.
Yeah.
And you're creating that opportunity to go and expand and create something totally different off of that, which is amazing. Because I don't think people realize, we also teach, I teach a class at New York University as well. And a lot of it is talking about LGBTQ and businesses. And a lot of people don't realize that social media, we all have access to analytics, metrics, demographics, and every single piece of that. And I don't know if you do, but we look at it constantly
all the time
to gauge what's working, what's not working. And similar to you, we know when to lean more into certain topics or certain styles of content based on how it's being received. And we follow those trends and it works. And that's brilliant that you were able, I don't think that's silly at all, because I feel like you were taking something that's been proven to work and creating a business out of it. And it's something that you're going to wear. Because like you said, the Speedo is like something you wear.
All the products are things that I low-key would want to find in a store myself. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to make it myself.
Right.
No, I think you're 100% right. Data is so interesting to me and so important because we're all making decisions when you're building a plan. The flip side of that, just a little thing, I also realized that as a content creator, and you mentioned the fact that content is art in a way, we let ourselves be driven by those metrics and like change the type of content you're making. And I was just watching, I think it was Dochi who was talking about like, give up what the people want and look at what you want as an artist.
What I love particularly about this is it's an LGBTQ owned business for LGBTQ people also, right? It's for everybody, but I think that
we're tailored.
It's tailored, right? And the website is beautiful, and the photography is Jesse, the one that helped you with
most.
It's beautiful, and I think that it's celebrating LGBTQ culture, and there's again that balance and that expression between femininity and masculinity. I love it, like the direction behind all of it.
Thank you.
Was there a certain style of storytelling you were looking to go with, or is it just kind of organically come together?
There for sure is like kind of a story that's being built. When I started the business and when I was building the first briefs for our creative, like our photo shoots, our branding, I was so focused on the colors and the feel and what is it going to look like. And Jesse actually came to me and was like, the reason certain brands work is because the story behind it makes sense to people. And people will follow the story no matter where your branding goes and where your product goes. If the story is straight or like the story's aligned and makes sense, let's not make it straight. People are going to relate and they're going to understand it and follow it. So I kind of scrapped everything. I was like, okay, what is the story? I thought back to why do I love the sun? Why do I love swimwear? Why do I love summer so much? It brought me back to my memories as a kid and the feeling that it was creating for me in my head. Summer was such a joyful, positive moment for me. The sun is such a healing energy that people naturally gravitate towards. How do I replicate that feeling into the brand and kind of inject that with our products so that when people wear our products, they feel joyful, they feel confident, they feel warm in our branding, in our creative and the photography. Yeah, kind of like going off of that initial story and building the brand out.
Which I think is cool because it's all tied into who you are as a person, right? It's also, it has that French Riviera, it has travel, it has fashion. It's so you in a brand, which I think is really, really impressive because it's no easy feat too, right? You're doing all the different things from the storytelling to the design to the, it's incredible. Really, honestly, I'm like really proud of you.
So
it's so cool. And I've been following it, constantly. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah, so we started with swimwear because I knew that was going to be what was going to bring the views.
Sure.
And then I realized, oh wait, that's a very masculine product.
Okay.
Let me have something that's a little bit more unisex and that anyone can wear. So we went into hats. We did trucker hats and dad hats, just so we have two different styles. And then our first winter hit and sales went down to 0. No. And I was like, oh my God, people don't buy swimwear in December? What?
Don't you go on vacation? Somewhere that's not cold?
And so, the seasonality of the products that we had was kind of a hit on the business side. And really quickly, I was like, okay, we need to have a product that's all year long and that still fits the DNA of the brand. So I had this scent that I have so many memories with as a kid. It's Monoi oil. It's a Tahitian oil that a lot of women use for their hair or their skin in hot countries because it protects the skin, it hydrates it, and it smells so good. It's like coconut oil mixed with tiare flower.
Yum. Okay.
It smells so good. And that scent is nowhere to be found in the US. It's very prevalent in France because French Polynesia, but not in the US. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make a candle. And so I started ideating and developing this scent, came out with it. I think that was our fastest launch, probably like a couple months from the idea to getting the sample to going into production. And that's the product that sold the fastest. So I was like, I do not know what you guys want, actually.
What do you want?
And our latest product's the bandana.
I love it.
Which I wear almost every day because I'm growing out my hair, and when you're trying to grow out your hair, it just doesn't look good.
I know what you're going through because it's like growing over my ear right now. You see that?
I hate it.
Do you see this? It's so bad.
It's hard.
I'm like,
yeah. So I'm wearing a bandana literally every day.
Okay, now I know the trick.
And I was like, wait, what if I made a bandana that is still reminiscent? That is still reminiscent of like the original Paisley bandana that everyone knows.
Yep.
But make it sunny days, make it French Riviera, make it sunny, make it summer.
I love it.
So that's how we came.
It's funny. Your brand reminds me. There was a time where I met someone, and this quote stuck with me my whole life. I was like, "What do you want out of life? What is your goal?" And he said, "I want to always look like I'm on vacation." And I said, "What does that mean? Like you want to travel?" He's like, "No, because when you go on vacation, you get sun-kissed, you're eating healthier, you're having an acai bowl, you wake up, you go to the gym, you go sit by the beach, you're enjoying yourself, you feel good, you're not stressed with work. I want to live a lifestyle where I'm always on vacation." And he's like, "I don't mean physically being on vacation all the time,
feeling like you're on vacation,
but the feeling like you feel good about your body and what you're wearing and who you are, where you're at with your life, no matter where you are." And that stuck with me because I was like, when I go on vacation, I feel my best. I feel healthier when I'm a little sun-kissed or maybe a little crispy. I feel like I'm eating healthier. I'm taking care of myself. I'm not worried about checking my emails constantly.
My brain is not as foggy.
Exactly. And so that is, to me, that's how I kind of perceive the brand. Is it that always on vacation?
Mission accomplished.
Yes. What I also particularly love about it is you give back a portion of proceeds to the It Gets Better project. And then also just giving back in general, I think is really important, especially now more than ever. I feel like our community is always trying to keep each other afloat, right? And what made you decide to have that philanthropic background with your brand?
Yeah. So when I finished college was kind of the moment I had to be on my own. I was very privileged as a kid and as a young adult. My parents were taking care of me. I didn't have to think about much until college. And then when I made that transition into making my own money in school and using it, that's when I was like, okay, how do I want to allocate that budget or that income that I make? Naturally, some things started going to charities because I went to UC Berkeley, which is a very liberal school. So from the get-go, I was always incentivized and like taught that giving back was important and that it was valuable for myself too. So that was already a practice that I was doing for myself. And then in the years that were leading up to launching Sunny Days, 2020 happened. I feel like there was a general class awakening of everyone just realizing, okay, we can't just be on our own silo anymore. We need to like look out for each other. And that was also happening on the business side. In financial services, a lot of companies were starting to give back a little bit because they were forced to. But the DNA of the companies themselves started shifting a little bit and people internally starting making that move. So when I started the business, it was kind of a non-negotiable. I always was like, I'm doing it on my own with my own cash anyway. Can I just amplify that with my business?
And I think that also ties into why people want to support it as well. Because I'm noticing that people are more willing to spend their money where they know that it's going for a good cause. And 100%. It's not going to something that's going to counterintuitively pay for their own demise, right? Like I think a lot of times when we deal with rainbow washing or whatever it might be with our community where people or brands or corporations will only show up during Pride Month and then they take the money, they capitalize off our community, and then they use that to donate towards either politicians or bills or policies that are harmful for our community, that cause a lot of problematic rhetoric, right? So I think knowing that that is something that is at the forefront of your brand is also just showing where your heart is, where you're looking to give back and also support the community. I want to talk to you a little bit about love. Are you dating?
Loosely.
Wait, that's the best. I'm going to start loosely.
I'm dating casually.
Okay.
LA is the only city I've been single in.
Okay.
Because I am a recovering serial monogamist. I was always in relationships.
Jumping ship. Okay.
Probably since I was 12, I started dating girls in middle school.
Yep.
And the relationship would end and I would immediately get a new girlfriend and jump back into it. And then I met my first boyfriend and we were together for 2 or 3 years. When it ended immediately, I met another boy and jumped into it. Never ended. And so I wasn't single from the moment I was 12 to 2023, 4.
Okay.
Last year.
Yeah.
Last year. So last year in
You're
January.
just really loyal. You can't help it.
No,
You're
codependent.
Just really
Codependent.
I was trying to help you out, okay? You're like,
It's okay. Now I'm completely open with it. I understand it.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was always in a relationship, always kind of felt the need to have someone in my life. And that led me to, I think, accept a lot of behaviors that I actually wasn't okay with and that I shouldn't have been okay with.
Sure.
Just for the sake of having someone and feeling that acceptance from someone else.
Yeah.
And so when that last big relationship ended in January of last year, I, along with all of my friends, decided that it was time for me to try being single and being like, okay,
let's like, honey, intervention.
Oh, my friends went through it with that relationship.
They were like, here's my scroll of reasons why you need a break. Okay,
and it hurt.
Yeah.
It hurts your friendships, right? When you're not being healthy in your own relationship and you adopt behaviors, you hide, you lie, you don't prioritize your friendships the way you would. It's almost like you're not yourself.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So when that relationship ended, my friends had my best interest at heart and did not hold it against me. And they just helped me understand that jumping into another relationship was not the best thing for me. It wasn't going to change.
It also gives you time to take a step back and like have a little self-reflection moment, maybe in ways that, because I'm also the same. I've always been a very loyal person.
I see.
Did you see what I did there? Where I think a lot of my past, my childhood of abandonment fears kind of played into relationships. And I feel like that was always my biggest fear, being abandoned.
100%.
And that's always carried from relationship to relationship. But obviously, over time, you have to really work through that.
Yeah.
And then also giving yourself that minute to take a break and be like, okay, what do I really love for myself, not for anyone else, right? It's hard to do, you know?
It is.
So how does it feel being single? Because does it go through the waves of...
Of course. I think, I mean, you have the period where you're grieving the last relationship.
Of course.
And so that period is really not valuable in the growth department because you're like looking back instead of looking ahead. And then when I finally hit that moment, I was like, okay, I think I'm good. Like, I'm good on my own. I understand why that wasn't meant for me. That's when you start focusing on, okay, what do I want for myself outside of being a partner? Like, outside of being someone's boyfriend, fiance, husband, whatever that is, who am I? Like, who do I want to be and what do I want my life to look like? And so doing the work and understanding that also helped me understand, what do I want in a partner and what do I not want in a partner? And how would that fit or not fit in my life? Which at one point, it pushed me to the other extreme where I was like, I don't need anyone.
Like, I'm good.
Yeah,
you
like, know what?
Actually...
That sounds like a lot of work. But I also do know that I am a lover boy and I know that I crave connection and I'm going to want a partner in my life.
Yep.
I'm just not in a rush to jump into something with someone who I know is not a match.
That makes sense. That's good. It's not like just taking... you know, the
stray.
Not the stray. Crash is like, no. That was my cats. I thought you were talking about men or women. I was like, what? No, that's strays.
The strays.
I'm dead. You're like, okay, I need to adopt a second dog.
Yes,
okay,
you know
yes. What is one green flag that you would be looking for?
I mean, bare minimum respect, like them respecting you as an individual, but also respecting others when you see them interact with other people when you're not in the equation. I think thoughtfulness is a big one for me. Sure. That's like something that makes me feel like that person is someone that I want to be around. Yeah. And just friendship. Yeah. Like feeling like the person that I'm with could also be my best friend and that we can laugh together and we can spend time together and it just feels natural and light and easy.
Yeah. What is your biggest ick? Where you're like, ew, no, I can't. What's an ick?
People who are rude. Yeah. Especially in
service industry.
Yeah. Like,
oh, no, I can't. If you're rude to a service industry person, I just can't even look at you the same. Yeah. Like, it's done. Like, there's no recovery process there.
Lately, I've had one road rage.
Oh, that's an ick.
If I'm sitting next to a man and he's like speeding through and cutting people off and cursing, I'm like, this is not that serious. We're going to the gym. We don't need to be doing all that.
Do you see yourself going on dates in LA, or are you just like gonna?
No, I've been going on dates.
You're like, I'm not celibate.
No. I've been going on dates. I've been seeing people. I think a lot of last year for me was spent doing that healing work into myself and uncovering what was wrong with me in a way. Of course, doing therapy, just figuring out who I was as a person. And then when I started going on dates again, I realized, there's a whole part of healing and growth that is attached to your interactions with other people and that is only going to come out when you start dating. So I have been dating.
Yeah.
I have been seeing a lot of things that I don't really fuck with and I don't want to be around.
Like road rage.
Yeah. And noticing things in people that I think are amazing. I've met some men that are super emotionally intelligent, that communicate well, that know how to take your feelings into considerations, that learn from their mistakes, that are able to take accountability. Like, it still exists.
You're like, chivalry is not dead, actually. I've noticed. That's good. That's good. Obviously, mental health is a thing that we're always going to go through. And it's not like if we go to therapy for X amount of time, we're going to figure out what's going on with us. And that's done. Band-Aid, complete, surgery, done. Right? I think mental health is something that's an ongoing journey. Similar to what I'm learning about fitness. Unfortunately, it's something you just have to keep doing.
Yeah. Never ending.
Everybody's like, if I go to the gym for like 6 months, I'll get where I need to be, and that's done. No, like you like unfortunately have to keep going, right? And I think it's similar with mental health. I mean, to me, your brain's a muscle, right? So I feel like you have to continuously work on it, continuously keep it fit, healthy, everything, right? In order to also make sure that you are in a good place to be a good partner, and vice versa.
And once you find someone that you connect with and that you want to care for, it's about giving each other the ability to do that work together or separately, but while being in a relationship. If you jump into a relationship and think your partner is going to be the perfect version of themselves all the time, it's unattainable.
Right.
If they have that expectation on you, it's unlivable. Like, you have to be able to make mistakes and learn and communicate with each other. It's always going to happen.
Absolutely. So I think being open to also that self-reflection is important. And relationships, not friendships, not coworkers, family, everything.
Yeah.
It's always a part of that journey. I want to ask have you ever, a little pivot here, have you ever had a specific DM or a message from somebody that has just really impacted you and something that you carry with you in everything that you do?
I think, immediately. I think the one unique thing that I had about my coming out journey was the social media aspect of things. I was straight on social media for a little while. Before I actually came out.
Okay, I was like, I didn't know you at that time.
No, I don't think anyone remembers that part. But yeah, I was like, or like pretending to be straight, or like in the closet. People were making comments about my sexuality at the time. I was always pulling the I'm European card, so people would leave me alone.
Okay, they're like, I don't ask questions after that.
They're like, oh, he's European, it's fine. They're just different there. And then I had to do my coming out online. I like took a while to do it with my friends, with my family, with my grandma. And then once I was all done, I was talking with my friend Patrick, who's openly gay and like all about self-expression and gender identity and all those things online, and so confident and has helped so many people. And we had one impactful conversation when I was, I think, in college. And that day I was like, okay, I'm going to record that video when I go home. And I did. I sat down. I spoke about being not straight. And it was so awkward. And looking back at it, I'm like, who are you? Like, what was that?
But I feel like it was liberating, though, right?
100%. And then it's all out there. There was so much fear about disappointing my audience, about getting bullied, about anything that could have gone wrong. And then I put it out. And that's exactly what you were saying about people starting to reach out.
Yeah.
And telling me, oh, I've been watching you for 2 years. I'm closeted myself. I don't think I can ever come out, but your video helped me because I talked about my parents and how it went with my friends, etc. So I think all those DMs in that period were really, really impactful for me and just making me feel like, because being a content creator feels very self-centered sometimes. And I think that's also a reason I wanted to start Sunny Days. When I meet someone and they talk to me about their job, they can sound so passionate about some topic or some industry that is not them. And then when it's my turn to talk about my job, I feel like I'm always talking about what I like, what I do, what my opinion on this, my habit, etc. And it just feels very self-centered. So when it comes to content creation and doing the whole identity and coming out thing online, it made me feel like, okay, this has a purpose. Sharing my experience feels self-centered, but in a way it's a mirror for people to look back into, and that feels impactful and purposeful.
And I think what you're saying too is, you know, being able to open up, it does feel self-centered, but it's also helping so many people. So many people, which is crazy. Sometimes I'm like, oh, people are really watching. Like, people
you don't realize because you're on your phone posting.
And people will come up to us and be like, oh, did you ever did you ever, fix the bathroom or whatever? I'm like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
And they're like, I saw it. I was like, that was like 9 months ago. You know what I mean? Like that, not only does it stick with them, but I truly think that content creation and especially the work that you're doing, especially being LGBTQ plus representation, owning a business that's also giving back, like these are the steps that are changing the world. These are the steps that all of us have to be doing.
Especially right now.
Yeah, especially right now. And then people are going to be looking at that as inspiration to stay motivated in their own journeys. I know it feels sometimes that it feels like self-centering, and maybe sometimes it is, but also I feel like sometimes being selfish isn't always a bad thing. It's really not. I feel like all of us deserve to have that moment to be like, this is what I like. This is my passion, right?
Especially when you've been taught that you shouldn't like those things. And I think that's what pride really is about.
Right.
A lot of straight people who are against the idea of LGBTQ plus pride say, I'm not proud to be straight. But the difference is you were never taught that being straight was a bad thing and that liking what you like is a bad thing.
Right.
So the pride that we feel is almost like fighting back.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of funsy questions.
Okay, let's do it.
Shifting gears.
I'm not fun.
It's a fun one. It's real fun. You ready?
Freaking out.
All right. If you were a dog breed, what would it be?
I'm so biased. Like, I can't think of any other dog.
You can't pick Crash. No, it's got to be any other dog breed. It can't be that. You have to relate to it.
I relate to my child. I love him.
You're like, I am his father. What is he? He's a
Bernedoodle.
A Bernedoodle.
Let me talk about him.
Oh my God. Okay, so you would be a Bernedoodle. I love it.
Because they're fun, they're high energy,
right.
They're loving, they're clingy, they're loyal. They learn fast, they're loyal. Yep. I love him.
Okay, so you're a Bernedoodle.
Yeah.
I did one of those tests on BuzzFeed. And I was like, what am I?
I'm scared.
I actually got a husky, which I don't see.
I almost said husky.
Really? Yeah. I don't know if I think I'd be more of like...
They're yappers.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I'm joking.
I'm sorry.
Like, I'm leaving now. No, they're yappers. They make a lot of noise. I feel like I would, honestly, I know it sounds really stupid on my own to say it to my... I think I'd be a Jack Russell.
Oh, they're cute.
And I'm like, ugh.
Wait, what about it?
I don't know, because they're like little and they're like yappers. Like they're like little wiry. Unfortunately, that would be me.
Sorry, no offense to anyone who has a Chihuahua.
Anyone who identifies as a Chihuahua breed is, I'm sorry, but that's not one that we should all be proud of. No, but Christine did the test and she got a pug, and I'll never let her live it down. She was like,
was she happy?
Is the most offended. Oh, no, she wants to be a Rottweiler, of course. And I'm like,
I see it. Yeah. You know what? I see it.
Yeah, but she got pug, and it's the funniest thing to
Okay, send
me
the link. I need to take that. Yeah.
Okay, the other funsy question. Do you have any random party tricks or talents that no one knows about? Just random. You don't have to do it right now. But
I don't.
You don't have to. Well, what is it? You're like, I can lick my elbow.
No, I wish I tried.
What?
I can do a Muppet voice.
No, you can't.
I am not going to do it now, but there is a video on the internet where I actually went... Ipsy was doing a video with my friend Patrick. Okay. And they asked me to come in and do a Muppet. So,
how do you find out you're good at that? You're just sitting in the mirror and you're
think I'm very calm and composed. I always laugh when people DM me or comment on my videos. Your voice is so calming, because when I'm with my friends, I'm a freak.
You're a weirdo.
And so I tend to do a lot of voices and like be crazy.
Yeah.
And so Patrick was hearing it all the time. And then one day he was in a meeting with Ipsy and he FaceTimes me and I'm like working. I'm like, hey, what's up? Can you do the Muppet voice? Idiot. I started doing it. And he's like, can you be in a video with me? I was like, okay, let's do it.
Wow, so there's an internet video. Okay, I'm gonna have to find it. That's hilarious. If you want to share how people can find you, Sunny Days, your social media channels, all the things so they can follow your journey.
Hi, you can find me, goes calm all of a sudden. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. My username is just Noa Taieb. And if you want to follow my brand, Sunny Days, you can go at Get Sunny Days on TikTok and Instagram, or our website, www.getsunnydays.com.
GetSunnyDays.com. Little taste of sunshine,
we need a
right?
jingle, yeah.
You do? Do you not have a jingle?
No.
You can do a Muppet jingle.
Absolutely not. I should have never said that.
We need to have a quality time night where I get this out of you. Yeah. And now I need to hear the Muppet voice. Bye. That's a wrap on this episode of She Comes With Baggage. If you've loved this conversation, please make sure to come and follow me on She Comes With Baggage throughout TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more content and behind-the-scenes moments. And if you're tuning in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other audio platforms, please don't forget to leave a review. I love hearing from you, and your support helps keep these conversations going. So just remember, we all have more in common than we might realize. Until next time.